Moscow, I went to Mozambique because I needed to be briefed and debriefed by Chris Hani and Joe Slovo for my new assignment, which was to replace Chris Hani in Lesotho, because the apartheid government had threatened to invade Lesotho if Liabwa Jonathan, the prime minister, doesn't remove Chris from Lesotho. So the ANC then took a decision to remove Chris. I met him in Mozambique, and then they asked me to come down to Maseru to play the role that he was playing. So from Maseru, then I came into South Africa. Madiba played a very important role in keeping us together and reminding us that we need to focus at democratizing this country, at having elections and not violence. And to a great extent, he succeeded in stopping a bloodbath, because the Chris Hani's supporters and constituency were very, very angry, and they were prepared to fight it out. I was in that constituency because I was MK commander in the Western Cape. So after he was killed, we came together as commanders of various regions of Mkondo Wesizwe, and we started preparing to send our commander, send him off. So we coordinated our efforts, and then from all over the country, and we decided that we were going to give him a send-off at FNB Stadium just before the funeral, where all MK cadres and other comrades would come together and celebrate the life of Chris Hani. And that's what we did. And we were all armed. We were armed to the teeth, all of us. We were ready for anything. We were ready to die that day. But then the government of that time, led by de Klerk, decided not to engage us. So that stadium was full, FNB here in Joburg, full of us, all of us armed, ready for anything. But we conducted the ceremony until it finished without any, violence or outbreak of violence. Look, it was a long process of debate within the ranks of the ANC and its alliance about the process of negotiations, the pros and cons, the conditions or the preconditions of those negotiations. So, but eventually, after a long process of internal debate and discussion, it was resolved by the organization that we should engage the regime in negotiations, of course under certain conditions that were enunciated in the Harare Declaration, authored by Oliver Tambo himself. So even though internally, as you are saying, there were those people who felt that this is a ruse, this is a scam.
Should step outside and finish it that way.
To sort of disarm us and disarm our people. We should continue with the revolution until the final end. But of course, after a long discussion within the ranks, the leadership led by Oliver Tambo, President Oliver Tambo, of course advised to a large extent by Madiba himself, came to the final conclusion that peaceful negotiations are the way out and not war. I myself, I was never sure that that was the right path.
Which one? The negotiations?
The negotiations. But like Chris, we submitted to what we call collective leadership, because that time I was already a member of the NEC, and grudgingly or reluctantly we agreed, because we couldn't step aside from the collective. We had to abide by the collective decision of the organization. In South Africa, we treat this thing with kid gloves. A number of very high-profile people in this country were accused of very serious things, very serious amounts. It's not a card discount.
Yeah.
It's like, R500 million or R1 billion.
Yeah.
But those people have not been prosecuted. And if you don't start with the big guys up there, the small guys will like, oh, okay. If the big guys are not dealt with, we are small fries, we might as well go on with our thing. Look, the ANC is a very huge organization, and it has different people from different backgrounds, different classes.
But it's getting smaller.
Different strata, yes. And they come in with their new and different traditions and ways of thinking, and then especially when ANC went into government, it attracted a lot of characters, career people who want to use the ANC for their own ends, government and so on and so forth. And those people have come in and they're there. And now it changes the whole complexion internally of an ANC that is upright, that wants to achieve certain good things for the country, for the people. Suddenly you see things not going right. Small things like potholes. But state organs who are supposed to take these matters up suddenly are found wanting, are not wanting to engage these allegations because this person is so important, is so senior. Even the media, for that matter, gets into that situation where they don't question anymore. Whereas during that time, our time, early in Parliament, we were pursued by the media left, right, and center about everything.
Yeah.
Gravy train. But today, there can be a big allegation about you. The media will remain mum.
Yeah.
The police will come up and say, we don't sense anything wrong. SARS will say, we don't see anything. So it's also not just the ANC. This has also infected state organs who were found not able to implement their jobs without fear or favor. So that's why I say it's a problem, because then it's not just the ANC that is not rising to the occasion. It's also state organs who are refusing to keep everybody on the leash. Look, I think a lot is going wrong in government, and what worries me and keeps me awake at night is the people who are given the legal and constitutional right to deal with these matters, the police and SARS and Reserve Bank and whoever else, are not doing their job, and they're letting these things go. And I'm saying that it's a problem because if you do that to one person or to two people, What are you saying to the others? If it is okay for me to keep foreign currency in my house without declaring it, it's okay, it's fine, I can keep it. But the law says something different. Now, when the law enforcers come in and say, okay, let's investigate, they come and say, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. So if another person who's a guy in the street was found with the same, not Yengeni now, somebody else, are you going to treat that person the same as me? No. So the system that we have today in South Africa is rotten from within. It's not able to deal with the challenges that the country is facing, because from within, we've got people who are not sincere with their jobs. A good relationship with President Jacob Zuma, not only here at home, but in exile. When we were in exile, I used to work a lot with him, especially when I was based in Lesotho, because he was the main sort of contact between us and headquarters in Lusaka. And OR would send him to Lesotho from time to time to come and help us about various things. Well, some of the comrades would be arrested with arms. So then Jacob Zuma would be sent by OR to come and negotiate with the Basutus, and so on and so forth. So yes, we've had a good working relationship together. But I disagree with you on this notion of the damage was. I hear this all the time on TV with the analysts saying Jacob Zuma has made a dent. The ANC's demise or decline has been occasioned by self-inflicted wounds. It's internally based. It's not Julius Malema. It's not Jacob Zuma. It's not anybody else. The ANC itself as an organization needs to relook at itself. How do people reject the ANC in such a major way? You know, ANC has been riding the crest for the longest time as a premier national liberation movement in the country and in the continent. What has happened? And I think that's where the issue is for me. You know, when the ANC went through crisis in the 70s, you'll remember that we, at some point, Umkhonto weSizwe went through Zimbabwe to attempt to come into South Africa. Then they got engaged there with Smith's forces. A number of comrades died, and some of them were arrested by the frontline states, sent to prison, and so on and so forth. That was a difficult moment when those comrades came back from prison, complaining that the organization didn't look after them. It was very, very difficult. The tension between the political leadership and the military leadership. Then OR called a conference, the Morogoro conference in Tanzania. It said everybody was there. Those things were discussed, resolved, and the ANC came out united, and it proceeded. You know, even when 1985, there was a conference called in Cabo in Zambia, because there was a mutiny in our camps. Comrades started killing each other and taking over the camps. So the leadership resolved that the mutiny should be dealt with militarily, and that was done. But also the leadership resolved that there must be a political solution to the problem. Let's call a national conference. Let's call everybody around under one roof. Let's talk about the difficult points and resolve these points and move forward. We cannot move forward without that. Now, let's roll forward. May 2024. We have that dip from 57% to 40%. What do? we confine the issue to the NEC or to the leadership. We don't open it up and say, okay, this is very serious now. This is just very, very, very serious. Let everybody come. Let's have a special conference where we can have a real, deep, genuine introspection on what has happened. No, that was not done. And I think that's the crux of the matter for me. I think as long as we're in denial as the ANC about the problems that we're facing internally, those problems are going to eat us slowly until we finish. We're dead. Because we're in denial, we want to use scapegoats. No, it's Julius. No, it's Zuma. No, it's this, it's that. No, there are deeper problems in the ANC than Jacob Zuma or Julius Malema or any other person for that matter.
Yeah.
Comrade Zuma says to South Africa, I'm ANC and I will die ANC. And then people say, yeah, well, how can you say that when you are in another party? And the way I explain it and the way I understand it myself as his representative in the DC processes in the ANC is that I throw it back to me to say, I'm ANC myself and I will die ANC. Okay? By that I mean, I've been in the ANC now for maybe 50 years of my whole life, a full member of the ANC. I've been in the NEC of the ANC of that 50 years, 30 years of my life was a member of the NEC of the ANC. So there is no way that you can take the ANC out of my system, out of my life. It's there. I will die with ANC. I think that's what it means, that even this thing of saying that he's expelled from the ANC, he has said it publicly that he's going to deal with that thing, he's going to appeal, because he refuses to accept that the ANC belongs to some people and not to others. And he has said also publicly that actually the people who are usurping the leadership of the ANC are new people. Homa Figazoro, they don't know the ANC the way he does. They've not sacrificed as much as he has done for the ANC, So it's not an either or issue. Try as you might, you're not going to take the ANC out of Zuma.
But
the way they treat people, it's not right. Having been the representative of President Zuma in the DC, we raised the issue, for example, of a physical meeting where President Zuma will be called in by the ANC and the DC will come into the meeting and the process will start. So we made that request that there must be a physical DC process where Zuma can look at his accusers in the eye and say, but what is this? What are you talking about? So that they can discuss it amicably amongst them as comrades. No, the meeting must be virtual. You must go into a virtual meeting. So this is an old man of 80-something. I mean, do you think he's not comfortable with that? He will want you to sit like the old days in a meeting and we discuss this matter, politically and otherwise. No. So they treated me and they treated him like pieces of nothing. That's one of my gripes about that process. I was denied every request that I made to them. So also the way they treat people, they have no respect for people and what they've gone through and their sacrifices. They treat him like they treat another little boy. And Jacob found that very offensive. He found that very, very offensive. So the ANC is supposed to be a caring organization, caring for its members, caring for its people. But these days, people are dealt with in a very rough way. Either take it or leave it. The country is divided at this point in time, as far as I'm concerned. And no one is standing up and saying, like Madiba would have done if he was alive, let's all come together. Let's come. He will call everybody into one meeting. And he will say to us all, I know that you are all fighting. That's why I called you. And no one is going to leave this meeting before we resolve this issue. Okay, that was the type of leader that Mandela was. Since he should emerge as a unifier, unifying, in the first instance, the poor black masses and saying to them, come together, let's be the solution makers in this country. Don't be observers and sit back and look at all what is happening and complain. Come, let's go together. No, the ANC goes into a coalition or a GNU with the DA and excludes MK, AZAPO, PAC, EFF, and so on. And that, I don't buy this notion that the reasons that are being bandied about that they didn't want. I think if they really wanted them in the government, they would have been able to get them into the government. That creates another problem. So the division now it's getting bigger and bigger because everybody, every day you hear some important person saying, we don't want this GNU, we don't want this GNU. Even the workers the other day, in some meeting somewhere, they were having a song there. We don't want the GNU.
Yeah. And Paul Mashatile joined in.
Yeah, Paul Mashatile joined in. So there's tension in the country, there's divisions in the country, and no one is emerging as a leader who calls upon people to be calm, people to come together. Now, if the ANC doesn't call all of us together from all walks of life and say, guys, this thing is bad now, we need everybody to come in. How is anybody else going to do that if the ANC itself can't do that? Can't call all its cadres at all levels and say, comrades, it's bad. Let's come together. Let's look at this thing together. Let's find a solution together. No, they prefer certain people, not certain people. And that's, I think, is a source of tension.
Well,